Do you want to know what it takes to separate yourself as an athlete? It's about understanding yourself, building your relationship with yourself outside of the game is really important because you can master your emotions. You can master the way that you communicate and speak to yourself, and you could gain more confidence because you really deeply know exactly who and what you are and what you're striving for. How we coach this is through developing mindfulness and focus. I think that that's the first stage, is to get the athlete to understand the importance behind being fully present and focused within that moment. That's something that, especially nowadays with technology and different things like that, I see that a lot of youth and college athletes, pro athletes, and just people in general really have a hard time being able to sit down and focus. And that's because when you think about when we're scrolling on social media, we see things so fast. A content video is about 30 seconds. And throughout the day, most people are scrolling on social media and seeing these 30-second clips so fast at such a fast rate. They're seeing thousands of them, and their brain is getting taken in all these different directions. So that, I think, within mindset coaching and for athletes to help separate themselves from other athletes within the game, is to focus on mindfulness and focus. That's number one. Communication. Communication is the most important thing that you could possibly practice because that's how we problem solve. So when you think about communication, yes, there's different forms of communication. And this is something that Myron Golden talks about within his podcast and within his speaking, is three different types of communication. You have your internal communication. That's within oneself. Then you have the communication that you have with a superior, and that's God or whatever it is that you believe in, right? That higher up person. Then it's your communication within people that are on your horizontal, he talks about. And on your horizontal is just people within your life and people within your community, people within your circle. Understanding, and now he also talks about the newest version of communication within technology. Understanding that communication is going to be wherever you are is really important and beneficial. The way that you communicate with yourself is how you problem solve with it. And then the way that you speak to other people outside of yourself within your community is how you problem solve. So being able to express is really important and beneficial. And what that gains is the athlete or the person's emotional intelligence and awareness. And when you gain emotional intelligence and awareness, you gain control. Having control of one's self is ultimately the main objective. If we could have full control over our internal state, over the way that we think, the way that we communicate, the way that we are able to overcome emotional response, that's going to allow us to stay present. That's going to allow us to stay focused. And that's going to allow us to keep hunting and chasing our goals. I was just on a conversation with an athlete, and something that we talked about was how your verdict, the way that you speak to yourself, is the most important thing. It's the most important thing. Somebody else could say whatever it is to you. If you are able to communicate within yourself, giving yourself positivity, coaching yourself through the experience, having self-compassion and empathy, that's the main objective. And the beauty behind sport is it naturally brings this to you. It brings you thousands of reps of self-compassion, of communication, of problem solving, of overcoming adversity, thousands of reps. And when you think about like entering into the career setting, or if you want to be a business person, that's everything that they talk about, is being able to have the self-compassion, being able to apply work ethic, being able to problem solve, being able to communicate, having self-confidence. It's within each area, but you get that from the game. You get that from the game. And I think something that athletes need to understand is that when you think of an athlete archetype or the different archetypes between athletes, you have three different categories. I like to break it down like this. You have your craft, you have your mind, and you have your body. Craft, mind, body. Your craft is your skills for whatever game that you're playing or whatever sport that you play. So if you're a lacrosse athlete, your craft is your stick skills. Your craft is your IQ of the game. Your craft is knowing where to position yourself and understanding, right? That's your craft. Your mind is building a deep internal understanding and awareness within oneself, understanding your emotional triggers, being self-aware when you start to feel yourself lose focus, having self-discipline, building self-internal confidence, having that compassion and that empathy towards oneself. And then your body goes into your training and the way that you take care of yourself. People think of body and they think of training and this is something that I see is a lot of people that are in season, they get nervous to start working with a trainer because they're, I don't want to overdo my body. I don't want to be sore and in pain. That's not what training is about. Training the body is about priming. It's about getting your body to feel its best when you're on the field. So yeah, there's going to be strength training, but there's also going to be lots of recovery, myofascial release, mobility. And that's something within your training. It's about getting your body to feel its best so that it can perform on the field. So those 3 archetypes are all 3 different areas and categories that athletes need to be working on: their craft, developing their mind, developing their body. So right now, when you think of those 3 areas, your craft, your mind, your body, whichever one pops up in mind that you feel like is a weakness, that's the one we got to work on. So like if you're putting them on a pillar system and let's say your craft is really good, and then let's say your body is okay, and then let's say your mind is at a position where we need lots of work. Well, let's start with the mind. Let's prioritize the mind. Let's still work on the other 2, but let's prioritize the weakness. When you prioritize the weakness, that's how you patch the holes. Think of each weakness as if it was a hole in your ship. It's slowing you down. It's sinking your ship. So learning how to patch up the weaknesses to your game is what's going to allow you to elevate into the best athlete you can possibly be. And that's something for a long time, and this comes from experience, is that I was working on all my strengths. Because when I was working on all my strengths, how did I feel? I felt strong, I felt confident, and my ego was getting boosted because I was working on the things that I was good at. Well, imagine you could take the things that you were good at and still do those, but now think about the things that you were weak at and go work on those things. How do we do it? And this is a really good question because not a lot of people really understand I think people understand how to train the craft, or at least have an idea. I think people understand how to train the body, or at least have an idea, although I know a lot of people miss out on recovery. And I think that's major, or even activation, understanding how to activate muscles within the body so you can get the entire body moving in unison. But training the mind is something I get thousands of questions on. So how do we train our mind as an athlete? How do you train your mind? You sit in silence. You remove yourself from stimulation. You remove yourself from conversation. And you just allow the brain to run its course. I listened to a guy, he's great. His podcast is called The Mindset Mentor. His name's Rob Dial. Something he talks about all the time is he said that he went to a workshop or a retreat. They go 10 days without speaking. 10 days. They're not allowed to speak. And you sit there and he says he's having a really hard time just sitting there and not speaking. And I'm putting myself in his shoes and I'm thinking about the way that I would feel if I was just not speaking. And if I try not to speak for an entire day, that's hard. So I could only imagine going 10 days. But being able to just sit there and allow your mind to run through its thought process is how you start to gain control or have a sense of awareness for yourself and who you are. If you want to speed up that process, because sometimes it's really hard, especially if you've never really done mental work before, it's hard to just, okay, let me just sit down, let me just allow my mind to think. So how do we do it? We read and we write and we listen. being able to program your mind. I do these videos and I post stuff on social media, and there is nothing special about me. I'm not special. I'm not a special human being. You could see me when I was growing up. I was a young boy. I struggled for a really long time. I was overweight growing up. I had a hard time with some of my sports. I had a hard time. I had to take speech in class in school. And over time, you develop. But it's through your programming. It's understanding that what you're listening to, what you're reading, how you're speaking, how you're communicating within yourself is what's programming your mind. Imagine every single day, and this is something that I just got off the phone with an athlete, and this is something that we were talking about, understanding how to communicate within oneself. If you want to communicate with yourself more positively, what better way to do that than to take a self-improvement person, take a coach, take somebody that's positive, put your headphones on in your ear and listen to them while you're working out, while you're playing your video game, while you're going for a walk, walking your dog, while you're shooting, while you're doing something. Listening to somebody else say something positive, say something uplifting, say something educational is programming your mind subconsciously. Even if you're not even fully focused in what the person's saying, but you're just hearing this over and over again. How do I train the mind? Well, I like to use I am statements or I will statements. I am strong. I am confident. I am committed. I am passionate. I am kind. I am caring. I am trying my best. I will shoot for my goals. I will work as hard as I can. I will strive for greatness. I will share with others. I will do my best. A way to practice the mind. Imagine you took those words that you first wrote down on paper. You write them down on paper. That's a repetition. Now you read them into your cell phone. So now you're reading them into your phone. I will do my best. I will work as hard as I can. I will share with others. I will be committed. I will be passionate. And you say that to yourself in your cell phone. And then you go train, or you go walk, or you go play your game, or you go to school, and you put that on your headphones, in your ear, and you listen to it thousands of times. Yourself saying these things. That's repetition. There's no difference from the repetition you do for your mind and the repetition that you do for your craft and the repetition that you do for your body and your training. There is absolutely no difference. You just need to rep it out. Consistent. Over the course of decades. Over the course of days. Over the course of weeks. Over the course of months. And when you rep it out consistently, think about how many repetitions you could be getting throughout that time. It's impossible you won't grow your mindset. And that's something I think that, yeah, some people might hear that and they'd be like, oh, that's a little corny, or that's a little different. I don't know if I would do that. Try it. To be honest, I think it's one of the greatest practices I've ever done is simply write down I will statements and then put it on a recording and listen to myself saying it to myself thousands of times. I think another great practice for your mind, if you're driving, if you're working out, listening to podcasts, there's so many podcasts out there. There's definitely one for you. You could be listening to this. This could be your podcast. Great. I hope it is. But if this isn't your podcast, you have thousands of other ones that you could listen to, that you can grab some sort of positivity from, or you could program your mind with some sort of positivity. And then the thing is that when you take that information in, then you're going to go share it with other people within your circle. And then now you're being a good person. You're being a good citizen. They talk about character. And this is another big topic when we think about like us becoming the best version of ourselves as an athlete. Your character, and this is even as people. You think about the Bible, for instance, and people talk about God and spirit and being Catholic and Christian and following Jesus. Follow Jesus, follow God, but act. You see, like so many people, they'll follow Jesus, they'll follow God, but then they're not doing the consistent action that is showcasing exactly what they're preaching in the Bible. Being a good person, sharing with other people, learning new things. I don't understand it. And so that's why, like, as an athlete, you take these different lessons and you use it. As an athlete, if you want to become the best you possibly can, you got to work on those 3 archetypes that we spoke about earlier: your craft, your mind, your body. Then you got to be a really good person. Being a good person gives you confidence. Being a good person and serving other people brings you confidence. If somebody goes and scores on your team and you go up to them and you congratulate them and you give them that positivity, that's being a good person. Somebody's down, somebody's being negative to themselves, and you're able to pick them up and bring them into a different situation mentally, that's being a good person. Being a good person, being a good character separates you. And this is what, like, if you want to separate yourself as an athlete, become a leader. Become a leader. A coach wants a leader on his team. Why a coach wants a leader on their team? Because a leader is not only going to be working on themselves, they're then going to be inspiring other men and women on their team. Imagine you have one person that works super hard, that learns, that applies, that grows, and now they're also sharing with the other individuals that are on your team. That's how a company grows. That's how a team grows. That's how a world grows inevitably. If you could have thousands of leaders, imagine you have 50 leaders on your team. 50 leaders that are willing to share, that are willing to inspire, that are willing to work as hard as they can, that are learning something new every single day, that actually care and support each other. That's the end goal. That's the objective. And that's what, like, teams should be talking about, like, how to become a good teammate. Why is that not a conversation? How to become a good teammate. You want to know how you become a good teammate? You work your butt off, and then you inspire and you motivate other people to work their butt off through conversation, through your work ethic, through your attitude every single day, and through being present and being there and actually having a sense of care. How do we do that? How do we show that we care to another human being? And this goes back into your mindset development, is listening. And if sometimes when people are talking, if it seems too fast to process, well, how do we slow down the listening? We learn how to read. Read. As an athlete, you're hearing this and you're, oh, he's talking about reading. I'd rather go out and shoot, or I'd rather go train, or I'd rather go for a run. Well, you're missing an entire area of your game that is going to make you the best athlete you can possibly become. And generally the best person you can become, because your mind is the most important thing that you can possibly train. Your mind's controlling everything. It's funny because I had a conversation with a parent not too long ago, and they were talking to me about their 15-year-old child and said that they don't need to work on their mindset. I'm 26 years old. I need to work on my mindset. I listen to people that are 60-year-old, highly successful, and they're coaches, and they share, and they're business owners, and they're still working on their mindset every single day. That guy, Rod Dial, the mindset mentor that I was talking about the other day, he's constantly, what I respect about him, he's constantly learning, and that he's sharing with his audience. He's constantly learning that he's sharing. There is no such thing as being capped out in one of those areas that we talked about. There's no such thing as being capped out in your craft. There's no such thing as being capped out within your body. There's no such thing as being capped out in your mind. There's no such thing as being capped out ever. As an athlete, as a person, there's no such thing. That's complacency. We need to fear being complacent. Complacency is keeping us here. It's not elevating us. What, I'm going to be okay with just being here? I'm going to be okay with where I'm at? No evolution? I believe we were put here to evolve. And to go back to, sometimes I hear people talk about God, and they talk about how everything that we're doing is serving God. I don't think God put us here to serve him. I think he put us here to serve each other. I think he put us here to work as hard as we can, to learn more about ourselves, and then to share with each other through love, through experience, through education. That's what I think we're here for. We're here to build. We're here to share. We're here to love. We're here to grow. And if we could do that consistently as athletes and as people, the amount of growth that you make is substantial. You're constantly a student of the game. You're a student of the game. You're a student of life. If you could be a student, and that's what I mean, I'm not special. I'm not special. I'm not different. I'm no different than you. I'm 1000% no different than you. You should have seen me as a kid. I'm no different from you. I'm not special. I'm not unique. I'm a student. And I will be a student until I'm gone. I'll be a student when I'm 80 years old. I'll be a student when I'm 90 years old. I'll be a student when I'm 26. And I will be a student every single day for the rest of my life. I'll be curious. I'll ask questions. I'll share what I learn with other people. That's not being special. That's making a choice. Making a choice to serve. That's making a choice to become the best version of yourself. That's making a choice to grow and to improve. Not for the purpose of it being selfish for oneself. It's for the purpose of growth among community. Because again, we are just such a small of this world. You are a grain of salt. You're a grain of sand. We are such a small piece of this entire process that was put in front of us, which is amazing. And we're all genuinely unique. And I'm sorry, I will never say that we were put on this earth to serve one superior being, because I don't think he brought us here for that. I think he brought us here to serve ourselves and then to serve other people. I think that's the message, and to be a good person. Serve ourselves, serve other people, be a good person. And along the way, learn, apply, and grow, work as hard as we can, and become the best human being possible. The game and being a student allows you to do that. It's building your skills that are going to allow you to do that. Appreciate it. You are fortunate. Other athletes out there, other people, they don't have the same opportunity as an athlete does. You're in a position where you are learning so many skills, as long as you open yourself up to learning, as long as you open yourself up to absorbing information, as long as you open yourself up to positivity, being coached, taking in lesson, evolution. If you open yourself up to positivity, evolution, growth, learning, it's inevitable. You will become your best self. But you have to understand that the mind is what's carrying you, because the mind is making all of these decisions. The mind is deciding whether or not you're a student of life and a student of the game, or whether or not you're just playing, just to play. The mind is deciding whether or not we're going to work to problem solve a situation, or if we're going to say, oh man, I'm going to feel sorry for myself because this didn't go my way. The mind is deciding whether or not to take a positive from a game that you just had, or to only see the negative that happened. The mind is telling you that. The mind's telling you to train versus not. The mind is telling you to hydrate versus not. The mind is telling you to eat something good versus something that's bad. It's all in your mind. The mind's telling you to go to sleep instead of going out so that you could feel your best the next day. It's all the mind. How do we develop our mind? We rep it out. Repetition. So if you want to become the best athlete possible, learn how to master your mind. You're already working on your craft. Hopefully you're training, although there's lots of areas to training that you could work on too. But learn how to master your mind and become a student of the game and become a student of life. Because when you're a student, that means you're growing. That means you're learning. That means you're improving. That means you're evolving. And we were put on this earth to evolve. We were put on this earth to share. And we were put on this earth to love and become the best versions of ourselves. So take that this week and let's apply it. Because when you apply something consistently and you do it for a long duration of time, you're going to love the outcome that you get and appreciate the process, because what you're doing is not something that everybody gets to do. And the experience that you're having and the positions that you're being put in and placed in, and the emotions that you have to go through each and every day at practice, in games, in school, in your life, it's preparing you. So take it seriously.